Welcome to Uncaged in Australia. My name is Stuart Taylor. I'm not Mick Irwin. I'm here today to talk to you about the Pulsar Trail 2 LRF. It's a scope that sits on a rifle when you go hunting. Mick's used it in a couple of videos. He's asked me to have a look at it and give him a few pointers, and I thought what a great opportunity to actually go through and explain some of the features of the Pulsar Trail 2 LRF. Before we go much further, I just want to let you know that this is not a product review from a hunting perspective. What I want to talk to you about is how this works from a perspective of video production. Mick often goes out and hunts, and while he hunts, he captures some really good video, and we put it on our Uncaged in Australia YouTube channel and our Uncaged in Australia Facebook page. So from that perspective, it's really good to have an instrument like this to capture some really interesting features of that hunting experience. So that's what I want to talk about today, not the hunting itself, because I don't hunt. I love video production. Mick loves hunting, but we both love getting out in Australia and being uncaged, and that's what it's all about. So today I'm going to talk about 5 things. I'm going to talk about focus, I'm going to talk about sound, I'm going to talk about color, I'm going to talk about depth, and then we're going to finish off with one little technical issue that could save you a lot of time. It would have saved me a lot of time if I had known about it before trying to figure this problem out. So hang around for that part, because I think it's an important, simple thing that you can learn if you have a Pulsar Trail 2 LRF. So let's get straight into focus. So there's 2 things you really need to understand about the focus of this instrument. The first is the diopter focus, and then there is the lens focus. The first focus, the diopter focus, is about focusing the screen to your eye. If you wear glasses or if you have different vision, this will help you see the screen clearly. It will not change the focus of your instrument when you go to watch it again later on. That is where the lens focus comes into play. So the first thing you need to do when you look through the lens, you'll see a bottom menu. Turn the adjustment until you can see that bottom menu clearly. If that's clear, then the whole screen will be clear. After we have our eyesight corrected to the instrument using the back focus, the front focus is what we use to get the image sharp. So I've turned it completely anti-clockwise, and I'm going to move it until it sharpens up in the screen. As I turn it, it becomes sharper and things become clearer. As I go past the focus point, it's now blurry again. And I'll go back anti-clockwise until I feel as though the image is sharp enough for me to appreciate. And there it is. Another thing to remember is that the focus is distance related. If you're focusing at 50 meters, it's going to be focused. Then if you try and focus at 100 meters, you'll need to readjust the focus at the top. So you'll need to change the dial to make sure that it is focused. So the next part I think that's really important about the Trail 2 is the sound. So underneath the instrument, just under here, there's actually a microphone. Now when you get your Trail 2, it will be disabled, and you need to go in and actually change the setting to allow sound. I would strongly recommend that even if you don't think you're going to use sound, that you actually activate the sound. At the moment, I'm using a lavalier mic, and my camera is also picking up sound. What that means for me is that if my sound fails on one, or there's a big wind gust and it makes it hard to hear, I can go to an alternate source, being the camera as well. If you have your scope with sound, then what that means is that you'll also be able to capture that sound. It's also really good if you're going hunting and you don't want to take any camera, you don't want to take any sound device, you have it all connected, and you'll be able to give a really good account and tell stories as you hunt and give technical details about what you're doing so people can understand it as you do it. The way that you activate sound is in the menu button, which is the second from the front. It's the square button. You hold it until the menu comes up. Then you use the arrow back and arrow forward. So we'll use the arrow back button, which is the third button, until we go down to the second screen, and there you can see you disable on or off. and that will give you sound. And I'll try the sound now so you can hear it. This is the sound from the actual instrument. As the wind picks up, you might hear a bit of a bluster as well. The next really cool feature that I love is about color. When you're hunting, obviously you'll have a preference for what color you want to use to hunt. Most people either use a black hot or a white hot. At the moment, I think we're sitting in black hot. If you look at the buildings over there in the distance in the car, they're black as the car drives past. So we're in black hot. But there's a range of colorful palettes you can use, and they have different benefits. From a video production perspective, people like color, so it's good to add in a bit of color every now and then as well. So the same thing, we hold down the menu button. Just to be clear, if you press the menu button once and release it quickly, there will be a quick menu. You just click it and you see there that that's the brightness. We can turn the brightness up, we can turn the brightness down. So that's a quick menu. And as we click through, that's the contrast. We go up and down. If you really want to make sure you got good content in your video, try to keep those two very similar. So your contrast and your brightness should be roughly the same, and that'll ensure that you get good content. So that's how you go through the quick menu bar. To go through the in-depth menu bar, you need to hold it down until the menu bar comes up. And on the second screen again, I'll go back to the first screen because this is where you'll start. You'll be right up the top here, and you'll go through until you reach the palette. And there it is. It's got a little paint palette. And I click on that once and I can choose. Right now it's on black hot. If I want to go to white hot, that's white hot there. And I'm going to recommend, even if you use white hot, don't default to white hot, and I'll show you why in a minute. Let's go down to one of my favorite, rainbow, because I just like the colors. And I click that once and that'll activate it. Now I press the menu button down again to get out of that menu until it releases. And there you go. It certainly gives a different feel and flavor to your videos if you're using this for video production. If you're using it for shooting, you may choose to have it as a single color. The cool thing about this, let me show you what happens if you press the arrow forward once, just quickly. It will give you the angle. If you press it twice, it'll give you meterage if it can find it. Now that's going to be really a hard thing for it to find that distance, but that you can see in there, it's searching for the distance. What I might do is I'll move it to the tree. There we go. And if I press it twice, 1, 2, it's going to search and it's going to tell me that tree is 21 meters away. Let's go back here. Now, if I press and hold that button, it will go from the default, which is the rainbow, to white hot. And that's what I really like about this, is that if you are doing it for video production, you want to be really quick about it, you can actually press the forward button and go to the white hot. It always defaults to the white hot. You cannot change that. What you can change is what your setting is in the menu bar for your palette. So if I hold this again until it changes, there it is. We're now back at rainbow. So just something to work with. If you want a bit of variety in your videos, use that button. Stay on a different palette. It could be the red hot, black hot. It could be rainbow, sepia. Any of those you can use. Try not to use the white hot because you can go back to that anytime you like, and you can stay on there from that arrow forward button. It's pretty cool. So we've talked about focus, we've talked about color. Now I want to talk about depth. So when you're zooming is a really good way to give the people, particularly who are watching on iPhones and iPads, who can't really see what you're seeing when you look through the scope, an opportunity to get up a little bit closer. So when we press the forward button, we got the change of palette when we held it. Now when we press the backwards button, it will give us a zoom. And it will zoom from whatever default you have. At the moment we have a 2x default. We can change that in our menu. And then we can go to 4, 8, 16, and then you press it again and it'll default back to 2. So to go through the zooms, you have to actually start at the lowest zoom and go through all the different zooms, and then you end up at the back. So you just press this button here, the arrow button. Let's have a look. So I'm going to press the arrow button once. It's zoomed in and you can see it on the right hand side there, ×4. Then again, ×8, and you can see that car going back behind us. And then if we go ×16, it's getting even closer. And as we're getting closer, we can try to get it a little bit sharper. There we go, by the focus. And then to get out of that, we just go back. And there we have it. So you may want to just get up a little bit closer using that zoom for your shot, but it's also really good to get that zoom for the viewer who's going to be watching your video later. And I think that's a really cool thing. Getting your focus right, using your colors to maximize the experience for the end user, and also using the zoom, you are going to get some really awesome shots, but also having the sound there so that you can capture that really raw experience, particularly if you're taking a shot. And I think it's a great way to share your experience. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is a technical issue about downloading your content from the Trail to LRF. There is no memory card for this. It's all internal storage. So there's two things you probably need to consider. One, every time you download content from the Trail 2, you should delete it. You don't want to be in a position where you run out of storage. The second part, which I think will save you a lot of grief, is that if you have a look over here, you can see that that is the data cable point. It's a micro USB cable right there that it goes into. You'll notice at the top of it, it's rounded, and at the bottom, it's squared. Now, the cable that you get with this instrument is actually designed to fit in that perfectly so it doesn't break the pins. Where you'll find problems is if you try and use another micro USB cable, particularly ones that you get from the service station that are designed to recharge. The cable that you get with this is a recharge and data cable, and it connects into there. I used a number of cables, including this one here. You can see that will fit because it's got a tinier area, so it actually gets into it and it's a little bit harder. So this cable will recharge this, and it's great in a pinch if you need to recharge the Trail 2. What it won't do is do a data transfer. So when you connect it to the actual instrument, it will ask you whether or not you want to use it to recharge the device or as a memory card. If you select memory card, it'll show you that there's a memory card in operation, but your computer often will not pick this up. You need to use the cable that comes with it, or go to a place like Jaycar and ask them for a data micro USB cable. It's really important, and it will save you a lot of grief when you're trying to download your content. You'll think the instrument's broken, you'll think your computer's broken, you'll think the cable's broken. The truth is none of them are broken. You've got to use the right cable for the right purpose. So it's imperative that you use a data cable. Now, when I spoke to Mick about where he purchased this from, he said he got it from Glenn from Wolfeye, and he's an absolute legend. He'll sit down and go through this with you. He'll help you with any technical issues, and he'll do you a good price. As I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not a hunter. I love video production, and I love working with Mick because I think what he's doing is fantastic. He's trying to encourage people to connect with the outdoors, connect with their family, connect with their friends, and connect with themselves, disconnect from the stresses of the world. I think that's fantastic. My purpose today is to talk about the functionality of the Pulsar Trail 2 from the perspective of a video production, and I think it's fantastic. It's a great way to make your videos really pop and to capture memories that you want to keep forever. Show your kids, show your grandkids, and really celebrate living outdoors and getting uncaged in Australia.